Hello everyone, I hope you're doing amazing. So, I've gotten a question about kind of juggling recovery with social life and how I did it. So, I can tell you a little bit how it went for me personally. And yeah, maybe give you some tips. Sorry. Okay, so basically, what I did, or I was very lucky because first, I really like my real recovery attempt was in COVID. So I was very lucky that we weren't even allowed to have a lot of social contact. So yeah, I basically had a good reason to isolate myself. But yeah, let me start from the very beginning. As you know, I had like 3 recovery attempts, and only my third was actually successful. So my first recovery attempt, it was before COVID. I had just started studying in my bachelor's, so that was nearly or a little bit more than 5 years, no, less than 5 years ago. I'm already done, basically, one more week, and then I'm done with master's. But anyway, so I was forced to kind of meet new people, but still, like, we only had 2.5 days of classes a week, and the rest I was basically free. But I started working at the bakery. So what I did was I also had a lot of time to myself, and that's always the time where I would actually eat a lot, because otherwise I wouldn't feel very comfortable eating in front of people. So, and also this attempt then in the end it didn't work out because I just was so scared of the weight gain that yeah, it failed. I ended up in quasi recovery. Then my second attempt, it was already COVID, and yeah, I realized that I was still not fine because I was stuck at home the whole time. And so, except for the 1 day a week where I would go and work at the bakery. But yeah, I was at home a lot, and I just had so much, or I constantly thought about food. And yeah, I realized I need to truly recover. And so I started recovery again. It was a great time because really I had the whole week to myself basically, except for my family. So a lot of the times I would go to the supermarket, buy whatever was scaring me, going home and enjoying it alone. So I was, yeah, my best friend also at the time, like then she came back, but she was in Canada. So it was like a lot of time by myself. So I didn't really have to meet any people. I did meet them online, but I think that's much easier in recovery if you just text. And then the third attempt, that was also during COVID. And there it was a little bit more complicated because I was on exchange. And when you're on exchange, like you have kind of this pressure to build friendships and to explore things and do things because I mean, why would you be somewhere else if you just stay home all the time, you know? So there again, I had the advantage of COVID. So I started recovery and it was crazy to me. Like the amount of hunger for like 3 months. I mean, I've experienced it before, but I think before I just like stopped myself at some point and ended up in quasi recovery again. But this time I managed to follow my extreme hunger through and through. So what I would do, I would go out alone all the time. I really also, it was kind of a journey to get to know myself and to really accept being on my own. I mean, I've never really had problems with that before, but I think this year really was the most extreme year. But yeah, I would probably like once a day or every second day I would go out, buy new things from the supermarket, from bakeries, because I was in France. So I bought a lot of stuff in bakeries or at fast food restaurants. So I just had a lot of time to go out and eat and buy foods. And then in my, how's it called? I forgot it. Where you live with other people. I don't know, in my apartment that I shared. Colocation, is it called colocation? Colocation is in French, I know. I would spend time with other people, but not too much. Like we were quite special in terms of we would cook by ourselves or maybe next to each other. And there sometimes I had the kind of a problem with them watching what I cooked or what I ate. So I would often take the food up into my room. So I really did isolate myself quite a bit. I also made some other friends. So what we would do, because of COVID, we couldn't go out too much anyway. So we would always like meet either for dinner when it was still allowed, and then later on we would just go like on a little walk, go and get a takeaway coffee. So it was just like maybe between 1.5 to 3 hours, which I would tolerate not eating or not eating much. And yeah, it was just like a little exchange. And for me, it was quite fine because most of the time, thanks to COVID and studying still, not working, I could spend my time at home. So I was alone most of the time, maybe texting with some people. And then I don't know, like 3 to 4 times a week, I would go out for a coffee or for cake or for, I don't know, takeaway food. And then, yeah, that was also fine. Like I had so much time to eat and rest the rest of the week that it was completely fine. Then, I mean, the worst part of the recovery was, of course, when I was having the most extreme hunger. And that's also where I isolated myself the most naturally, because you just, first of all, don't have energy to do things. Your focus is still on food a lot. Like, I don't know, for me, I was worried that I wouldn't be able to eat or that people would judge me eating a lot. So I would just prefer to do it in peace and quiet. But then over time for me, as I said, like it took maybe 2 to 3 months. I still ate a lot, but it gradually went down, or like it was more like phases. It wasn't all day long. So at some point it was fine for me again to do like even day trips. And yeah, spend the whole day with people and knowing like to make sure to eat a lot in the morning and in the evening when I got home. So that's kind of what I would do. I would always plan around those things and able to eat a lot before and after. Make sure it's not something that is too demanding for my body that still has to recover. But yeah, I found social contacts during that phase fine, but I didn't like being away too long from my home because of not being able to eat properly, because I didn't feel comfortable eating that much. Like the amount that I ate, I would have never, and still like admitting to people how much I ate, or I just don't do it. Honestly, I don't talk about it because it was so much. Also, I could just buy my stuff alone and nobody really knew how much I was eating, or maybe they did, I don't know. So that's why I was very calm about it. And I just also, I think quite a lot of people open up about their ED, but I just didn't, because those were quite new friendships. I didn't even tell them about what I'm going through. I was just focusing on other aspects of my life. So that was regarding friendships. And with my friends from home, I just kept on texting, updating them, but nothing too special. Then regarding dating, for me that was very difficult. So I forced myself to go on one date during this year. And one time I was invited to get to meet someone who also liked me in the end, which I still don't understand because, yeah. I mean, I was a great girl, but honestly, it sounds weird, but I think he was more interested in the fact that I'm Swiss than in me as a person. But anyway, I went on one date, like I went onto Tinder and like basically took the first match because I just wanted to prove to myself that I spoke French fluently enough to speak during 1 hour, and I did it, and then I deleted it because in that time, like my focus was so entirely on recovery and on kind of rediscovering myself again, because I don't know, like suddenly I found things funny again. Suddenly I started like reading fan fictions again. I don't know, it was just like a time where suddenly I had more interest in life rather than food and body. So yeah, it was more about discovering myself. And yeah, at some point when extreme hunger became less and I was able to live a more normal life outside of having to eat the whole day, I did go out more and explore things, and I completely forgot. Actually, sorry. After okay, so I started True Recovery. Sorry if that's a little confusing, but yeah, you guys listen to me always, so I guess you're still here. I started this True Recovery attempt that actually worked out in the end, I think in September or October 2020. And then around February or March, I fell in love with a guy, or I had a crush on him. And then I somehow managed that we became maybe best friends, really close friends, for being both exchange students. And so I actually really fell in love with this guy. He didn't fall back in love with me, which now I'm glad about. But I have to say, this was already 6 months after I went all in with my extreme hunger and recovery. So there I already had place to think about other things than food. I was really kind of over restricting at that point. I really didn't think about it. The only thing that was bothering me now was the way I looked. And I thought that was one of the reasons why he didn't like me. And maybe that's a possibility. I don't know. But now, looking back, everything has happened the right way. But anyway, so after 6 months of really following through with this recovery, and also it was my third attempt, so I was already much more recovered than I was at the very beginning, before my first attempt. So I have to add that. So it was 2.5 years later than my first recovery approach, which of course, no, it was 1.5 years later. But anyway, so yeah, I then fell in love with this guy. And my general focus, I still had to eat a lot. And I, for example, went on holidays with them, and it was a little bit difficult for me to eat the more or less the same amounts as them, because of course, when I'm traveling, when I'm with people, I don't feel very hungry because I'm constantly exploring and busy with people. I cannot really calm down. With my boyfriend, it's different. With him, I can completely calm down. But yeah, so there, I always suppressed my appetite a little bit, which also was a reason why I didn't want to spend too much time with people because I really wanted to recover and not take the opportunity and suppress my hunger and continue this restricting cycle. But yeah, that being said, I was super privileged in that situation of COVID. I know, because having to for example, continue working, continue to appear in school or whatever is very difficult during recovery, because first of all, you have to move. Your appetite will be a little bit suppressed during the day, I think. I don't think most people can just eat during the day when they're busy with people and work and whatever. So you only have the mornings and the evenings to really, really eat, especially the evenings. So my tips is, if you are able to, try to work more from home or reduce even your pensum. Is it called pensum? Percentage of working, if that's possible. Otherwise, really reduce your social life. To be honest, really take the time to stay more at home, focus more on recovery, really see it as if you broke your leg and you really have to now focus completely on chilling and making sure your leg heals quickly. It's the same. So really, if your friends are super active, that means that, yeah, you just have right now a different focus, and seeing someone less doesn't mean that you won't be friends with them anymore. For me, I had quite a lot of phases with my friends where I met them more, met them less, and was always mutual. For example, when my friend was on exchange, we were in contact much less than after, or right now, because of my masters, I'm in contact quite little with my friends, etc. So it's always an up and down, and I think if you are able to open up to your friends and explain what is going on and why you need to really rest and take care of yourself, I'm sure they will understand. If they don't, they're not good friends. If you're like me and you're too embarrassed to tell them, I only told 1 or 2 friends after everything had happened and I was already recovered, because I just hate opening up about things like that. So yeah, for me, I don't know, you can also claim it on being like more introvert or whatever. Like, just take the time to be by yourself, calm down your nervous system, and eat a lot of food, because it's difficult eating food out of the house. I get that. Also, with dating, one thing I can recommend is just not date during recovery, because when you meet people that you're interested in, oftentimes you think about how are they going to perceive me. And the thought of being like, oh my god, but if I get bigger, it's likely that they won't like me anymore, blah, 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 is quite big. At least it was like that for me. So don't even go there. So first focus on the recovery and then like on the dating life, because I don't know, it's not worth it being worried about people's opinions. So yeah, that was my 5 cents, or better said, 16 minutes to the topic. I think it's like an endless discussion, but most important takeaway, just really take the time for yourself. You have the rest of your life to build up friendships and love relationships. For me, once I was done with recovery, like I automatically started, not automatically, but then I started dating my boyfriend and everything was fine. Like, I think once you really are done with recovery, you will also not execute, how's it called? Yeah, you will just, like, this inner happiness, it will shine through and you will attract more people anyway. And you have just the right headspace for a proper relationship, in comparison to still being in recovery, always having to worry about things. So yeah, just trust the timing and focus on recovery. Bye! I hope you have a great day.